Alright, we got a 9.8 Mercury water pump housing here. We're just going to show you how to get that impeller down in there and the keyway in place. I know a lot of people complain about this and they can't seem to figure out how to do it, which it's a little different than a lot of the newer ones. As you can see, the water pump actually is recessed down in the housing, whereas newer ones have cups that are up above and you push them down over top, which makes it a lot easier while you turn the shaft in the newer ones to install them. As you can see, the spot for the keyway is right there. So what I'd like to do is take a tiny little dab of grease, put it down on that little spot there for the keyway. It's a little awkward with the camera standing in the way here, but I'll do my best. Okay, so then there's the keyway. There's the key for the keyway, I should say. Just use the grease that's left over on the screwdriver to hold it. And we're just going to go put it down in place like that. Make sure it's centered on that. Well, there it's centered. And just be aware that there's two different size water pump drive shafts back in those days from the 70s and the early 80s. So let's make sure you got the right size hole here. Just two different styles. Just take a measurement before you purchase your new one. This is the old one. Somebody installed it incorrectly. You can actually see one blade and one blade's facing a different direction than it should be. They should all be facing the same direction once they're installed. And that one's broken right off. And I'll show you how to do it correctly, so it's not installed wrong like the last one. So just take it, slide it down the shaft, and we're going to take a little bit. I got some silicone-based lubricant on the end of this brush here. So it's compatible with rubber. Put it on the bottom of it too. So it's compatible with all rubbers and plastics. You don't really want to use grease if you don't have to. It's better to use a silicone-based product that will not react with the rubbers and the plastics. It will not eat it away over time. So this one actually says right on the container that it's suitable for use with rubbers and plastics. There we go. So it's all lubed up now. And we just want to make sure we're lined up. The keyway path is right there. And it's right above that key that's down below it. Sometimes it takes a couple tries, so be patient. Looks like we got it lined up. So you just take a screwdriver like this, get close to the center of it, push on the bushing part of it. Yeah, we lined it up pretty good that time, but as you can see, these water pump blades are facing the incorrect way, so we got to gently encourage them to flip around to the correct direction. Right there. Just be gentle with it. Keep that thing down in there. You always want to be turning clockwise. That's the way the motors turn. There we go. And you can see I can turn it back and forth, and that key's in place definitely. See, it won't let. I can't turn the impeller now that the screwdriver's in there. There we go, and it's in. As you can see, this is in the wrong orientation still, so we're going to fix that quickly here. There we go. Just gentle with it. It'll pop over. A little bit of encouragement. As you can see, they're all facing the right direction now. You know, you just want to make sure that they're not like this, because that was wrong. This one's right, this one was facing the wrong direction, like how that was a second ago. Just make sure they're all facing away from the way it's turning when you're going clockwise, and you will be good. One final little push down gently with it. This is your top plate. Make sure it's facing the right way. There's an orientation key right here that faces down into that little slot there. There's another one for the top, which faces up. It's designed a little bit differently so you can't mess it up. Make sure that the surface isn't all chewed up and worn out. Sometimes right here they can be really grooved in, and also the cup below it can be really grooved, so if it's really grooved, replace it. If not, feel free to clean it up and reuse it. There we go. It's in place. Just make sure it's turning good. Double check all the blades again. You can see they're all orientated the right direction while you're turning clockwise. It makes it a lot easier if you put that silicone-based lubricant on it to be doing this. And we're good there. Here's the cover for that. A lot of times this is all melted here. Sometimes you can just clean it up with a little blade or a little Dremel tool. Just make sure the whole passage is clear. Make sure this tube here is clear as well. Check the passage between the tube and this bushing here and down here as well. The water intake. Make sure everything's clear. There's no debris, no rubber pieces, no anything. Just check all the passages with a flashlight and take this right out. I already took it out earlier and blew it out with air. Made sure it was visually inspected as well. It just pops out quite easily. Just give it a gentle pull. Try not to bend it. It is soft metal, so it will bend if you're too aggressive with it. Alright, so this top piece goes back on here, like so. And then you get 2 washers and 2 nuts. There's the washers. There's the 2 nuts. Just gonna tighten it up. Hold it down gently. Give it a little turn to make sure that's not snagging on the water pump. Just turn it a few more times there. Yep. Feels good. Okay, just gonna go back to the side and just give it a good snug. There you go, nice and snug. Water pump shaft is turning easily. There you go. Nice and snug. So we've got a couple more little things we got to do before we put the leg back on the outboard here. These legs were the same, like the 7.5s, the 9/8 back in the day. They're compatible with each other. Just might be a little bit different style housings here, but same basic design. So the impeller installation is the same. So you can use this for reference. There's a small little bushing, rubber bushing, little quad ring actually. It goes on this drive shaft above this seal. This stops exhaust gases and whatnot from pushing in to the water pump. You see, put that on like that, push it down nice and tight. And we also have this little guide tube here. It really assists you in getting that water pump tube in place when you're putting the leg back on, because it's not a lot of room between here and the actual housing on the outboard. So this makes it a lot easier. Make sure you have this in place, make sure it's in good shape. If not, then replace this. They're cheap if you can. And we'll put some grease on these splines here. And we'll also put grease on the shift shaft splines. Put a little bit on this stud here. And then you just reinstall the leg as you basically took it off, you know. It goes back on quite easy. There's a washer and a nut that goes here, and there's also one over here underneath, different, right there, that little hole there. And those 2 nuts hold it on. There could be a different video to show you how to take it off and on, but I did this nice and slow so people could see. Hope this helps you getting your water pump done on your 7.5 horsepower Mercury and your 9/8 horsepower Mercuries from the 70s and early 80s. Thanks a lot.